Hudson, I would like to introduce Simone Hudson, who is with FEMS for the District of Columbia, and she's going to give a presentation about fire safety for older adults.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I am located in the Fire Marshal's office of DC Fire and EMS Department. In our office, we have different components that deal with fire safety and education, as well as doing inspections around the city to make sure that all employers are providing their employees with safe fire safety guidelines, as well as making sure that when you frequent a business, a local business in the city, that those businesses are safe as well. So I am going to share the PowerPoint on what's cooking seniors. So some of you may know, but during the pandemic, we had an increase of cooking fires in the city. And we just want to make sure that not only are you safe from having a fire in your home, but you are safe in preventing that fire in the kitchen. So I'm going to start off with a brief video from my coworker. In 2019, she had a fire that started in the kitchen. Thank goodness no one got hurt, but she's just going to talk about that.
Hi, I'm Pat Everett. I'm from the Washington, D.C. Fire and EMS Department. I'm one of the educators, and I had a fire in my home last year, August 26th to be exact, 2019. I got the call from the office to tell me that my house was on fire. I thought it was a joke, but then I knew nobody would joke like that, and I was concerned about my granddaughter and the dogs. Well, I didn't know how bad the fire was. I didn't know the extent of the fire, and there was a lot of fire equipment outside my home. So I thought that maybe my neighbors' houses were on fire. I saw my granddaughter and the dogs when I got there, so I knew they were safe. And I just didn't know what to think at that point. And then one of the investigators took me into the house and showed me around, and we went into the kitchen where the fire actually started. And that was sort of hard to take. I saw everything burned up. I saw things turned over. The walls were black and with the smoke and the water. Things were just damaged. Things were destroyed. And when I left home that morning, everything was fine. And then when I got back, things were destroyed because of the fire. I saw toys are scattered about, well, I mean, which they normally are, but they were burnt. My kitchen was burnt out. I had things all over the stove. My pantry was burnt, and the walls, everything was burnt. And it just really hurts, because then you know that you work so hard for things, and a fire can just wipe you out. And it just took my kitchen out. I thank God it didn't take out the rest of my house. It just took the kitchen out. I didn't know what to do that night, where we were going to stay. We stayed with relatives. Then we got the house boarded up that night. Then we stayed in a hotel for 2 months, including the dogs. I am one of the fire safety educators with the DC Fire Department. And I tell people not to place combustibles on the stove, and I actually did, and that's what caused the fire. It was a piece of wood that I was using because I had just gotten the cabinet, but the contractor hadn't put the shelf in the cabinet yet, so I put the pots and pans on the stove, on the piece of wood. And I don't know, somehow the eye got turned on, and that's what happened. Always have a plan too. Don't put combustibles on the stove like I did, and just practice your plan. Like I said, that's why my granddaughter was able to get out. The dog barked when he heard the smoke alarm, and she smelled the smoke at the same time. He wouldn't come out, but she came out. And she called 911. She went to our neighbor's house, and called 911. The day that it happened, she remembered what to do, and that's all that mattered. That she remembered that she was supposed to just get out and don't take anything, you know, go to our neighbor's house and get the help and get somebody to dial 911. But all the smoke alarms were working. I do test them, and they were working. And like I said, when the dog heard the smoke alarm, then that's when he started barking, and my granddaughter smelled the smoke. Please don't disable your smoke alarms. Make sure that you test them and that they're working, because if mine hadn't been working, the dog wouldn't have barked, and my granddaughter, I don't know what would have happened. 2 things, if you don't take anything else from my message, have a plan and practice it, and don't disable your smoke alarms. Please don't put any combustibles on the stove.
All right. So what do we want to start with? We want to start with facts about older adults when it comes to fire deaths. So in 2016, the United States had about 12% population of seniors, which is age 65 or older. That has increased to about 13% since, and they accounted for about 36% of the fire deaths that year, contributed they accounted for 36% of fire deaths in 2016. So when it comes to fire and cooking, make sure that you're wearing tight fitting sleeves. When you're cooking with loose sleeves, you're taking a chance on if you reach from one area of the stove to another area that your clothing can catch on fire. Also be mindful when you're cooking, never to leave the room. Now, it's understandable if you have something cooking in the oven, but make sure you put a timer on the oven. If you don't have a timer on your oven, put a timer on your phone. Maybe purchase a timer for your home, for your kitchen, or take something with you. But when you're cooking on top of the stove, if you have to leave that room for anything, even if it's just to go to the bathroom, turn the pan off until you return. So don't place combustible materials near the stove, such as sometimes you may go over someone's home and they decorated the outside of the oven with decorative tiles. That should not be hanging, because if it's an oven fire, once you open that door, anything around it will catch fire. Make sure that the paper towels are not above the stove, because if the stove catches on fire, the paper towels will catch on fire as well. And never use the oven to heat the home. If you have gas appliances, ovens have carbon monoxide that fuse the oven. When that door is open, that carbon monoxide escapes, and that's carbon monoxide poisoning escaping. And that can kill you and your family. So be mindful, if you need services to heat your home, contact your local Department of Aging for resources in weatherizing your home, or have a family member go to the local hardware store to get a weatherized kit to weatherize your home and keep the home warm and prevent any drafts from coming in. Why is this so important? Cooking fires are the leading cause of burn injuries for older adults. So just be mindful when you're cooking to follow these steps. So we have here a picture of someone cooking on top of the stove and the pan has caught fire. How would you put that fire out? Would you use a fire extinguisher to put it out? Would you try to carry the pan over to the sink and put it out? Or would you use a lid? So fire extinguishers are great. We know they work, but do you know how to use them? Is it expired? you have to go far away to another location in the home? So that may not always be the best way to put out a pan fire. Then let's take a look at the one in the middle. So this person is taking the pan over to the sink, but as you can see, the flames are coming onto her and soon her clothes will be on fire. If that handle's hot, she can burn herself, and let's say she drops the pan. If it's a pan of oil, not only will she have a burn on her hand, but she'll also have burns on her body from wherever the oil splatters. So just remember to always cook with a lid. Your favorite pot or pan may not have a lid, but as long as the lid is the same size or bigger, if the pan catches on fire, slide the lid over the pan and turn the heating source on. When you're using the lid and you're sliding it over, you're covering the pan to eliminate oxygen from coming from the fire. You're eliminating the oxygen from the fire. If you just dump the lid on the pan, it's going to try to come out the side. So that's why it's so important to slide the lid. Smoking fires. Smoking fires are the leading cause of fire deaths for older adults. So when you are smoking, make sure that you're not smoking in bed or on your couch, or maybe your favorite chair that you like to relax and watch TV. If possible, try to go outside and smoke. And make sure that you take your ashtray with you. It's wintertime now, and plants and mulch are dry. If you go to put that cigarette out in your plants or mulch, it's a possibility that it can catch fire. So make sure that you're taking the ashtray out with you. And never smoke when you're falling asleep, if you're feeling sleepy. If you have not been outside and you're feeling tired, don't risk it, because it is the #1 cause of fire deaths, smoking in bed. When you're smoking and using an ashtray, make sure that you have a large ashtray, and make sure that when you go back in, that you extinguish the ashtray to make sure that everything has been put out. The fire has been put out of the cigarette. Never smoke while using oxygen. If you are a person that is on oxygen and smokes, talk to your doctor to see if they can put you on something to help you with stop smoking. They have gum, they have the patch, they have pills. And in the meantime, if you're going to smoke, you have to run the risk of not being on your oxygen by removing the oxygen, then going outside, and then afterwards waiting a while to go back in. But you cannot take the oxygen with you. Electrical fires. Electrical fires are the second leading cause of fire deaths for older adults. So as you can see in the picture, someone was using a faulty electrical appliance, and as a result, it did what? It caught fire. It's very important to replace all extension cords with surge protectors. Surge protectors provide a reset switch, which will cut everything off if something is wrong with the appliance or something is wrong with the outlet. An extension cord will just burn out until the next time you go plug something in, you get shocked, or it causes a fire. Never overload outlets or surge protectors. Use one appliance per outlet. And if it has about 8 prongs, try to use 6. If it has 6, try to use 4. And then plug other items on another wall outlet. Don't try to plug them all in at one time. If you have to use an extension cord, know that it's for temporary use only. An example of that is the holiday season. You may plug in decorative lights, a Christmas tree, things of that sort. But at night, what do you want to do? You're going to unplug them. You do not keep them on all night. and extension cords are not designed for long-term use. When you need electrical work done, make sure that it is a licensed and bonded electrician that is performing the electrical work. If you have a handyman, that's great for projects that do not involve electrical work. But if you receive electrical work that causes a fire, after the firefighters come in and the fire investigators are there to see what caused the fire, your insurance company investigator is going to come in to see as well. If they see it's from faulty wiring or something electrical, they're going to ask who your electrician is, and they're going to see if the person was licensed and bonded. Unfortunately, if they are not, they will not cover the claim. So that means if it's as small as a $500 claim or as big as a $50,000 claim, they can deny the claim. So what is an electrical overload? This is a picture of an electrical overload. The great thing is they're using a surge protector, but they have plugged too many items in it, and they plugged in items that should not be in it. So on the left side, beside the reset button, they have a heavy duty cord, that's the orange cord, and beside it, they have a surge protector. Then on the right side, they're using one or two extension cords. So when it comes to surge protectors and extension cords, you are not to plug in surge protectors into surge protectors into extension cords into extension cords, and vice versa. So make sure you are only using electrical appliances in those outlets. Now let's take a look at the wall. The wall has about 6 additional things plugged in. Those are considered cheater plugs. So cheater plugs are just like extension cords. They do not provide any indication that something's wrong with the outlet or something's wrong with the appliance. Eventually, if something is wrong, it can cause a fire or electrical shock as you're going to plug in an item or unplug an item. So make sure that you're only using the appliance in the outlet or a surge protector. Never overload electrical circuits by plugging too many in. And when it comes to using appliances, cords around furniture, never put them across the doorway, because every time you open or close that door, you're fraying that cord, or under objects of furniture, because it's electricity. It's going to need to stay cool. And if it's under something that's making it hot, that can be an electric, that can fault the wiring as well in the electrical appliance. So it's wintertime and we may need extra heat for certain rooms in the house that are colder than others. If you're using a space heater, make sure that it's 3 feet clearance from any combustibles, including you, bedding, furniture, and do not have it in doorways, closet ways, in the bathroom, because when you're in the bathroom, we're dealing with water. And make sure every time you leave the room, you are closing that door. That you're turning that space heater off when you leave the room, as well as when you're going to sleep at night. Turn that space heater off. It should not be on while you're sleeping. Now, as far as the 3 feet clearance, that includes the candles. If you're using candles in the home, every time you leave the room, make sure that you blow the candle out or take it in the next room with you. When you're going to sleep at night, make sure you're blowing that candle out, and that you're keeping 3 feet of space from any combustibles in that candle. Smoke alarms. Non-working smoke alarms can also contribute to senior fire deaths. So make sure that you have smoke alarms in your home. DC law requires smoke alarm installation on every level of the home, outside of the sleeping areas, and now inside of each sleeping room. So that's inside of each bedroom. So what's a sleeping area? A sleeping area may be where someone is sleeping in the basement or someone's sleeping down on the first level. They're not able to close off a door, so it's not considered a bedroom, but it's still a sleeping area. You need one in that area as well, so the person, if they're asleep at night and there's a fire, they're able to get up and get out. DC Fire and EMS Department provides free smoke alarms for homeowners living in the District of Columbia. So you can contact us by that phone number, 202-727-1614, or you can contact us via email. I'm sorry, you can go on our website and request one. Now, if you are renting a property in Washington, D.C., and your property manager has not replaced your smoke alarm or changed the batteries that may be chirping, you can contact us as well, and we will assist in speaking with your property manager and educating them on the importance of smoke alarms. Smoke alarms are the first defense against fire. Now, when you're hearing that irritating bird chirping sound, what does that mean? It means it's time to change the battery. So when you hear the chirp, it's time to do some work. Smoke alarm batteries should be replaced twice a year. A great time to remember is when time goes back and time goes forward. Once a month, you should be testing your smoke alarms, not getting up on a ladder, but you could take a broom handle and just push it up on the test button and count to 60. If it does not go off within 60 seconds, it probably needs the battery replaced. We replace batteries as well. Now, if your smoke alarm is 10 years old or older, it's time to get a new smoke alarm. They now have smoke alarms that have a hush button. What's a hush button? Let's say you're cooking something in the kitchen and it's accumulating a lot of smoke. The pan is not on fire, but the smoke alarm is receiving the smoke. So it'll go off. You push that hush button and it gives you about 5 minutes, enough time where you can open up a window, open up a door, maybe turn the heat on the pan down. Also, we now have 10-year lithium ion battery alarms. Those smoke alarms do not require you to have to replace that battery twice a year. You just replace the whole unit every 10 years. So here are some recommended locations. You should have smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms, as well as fire extinguishers. So if you have gas appliances in the home, you need a carbon monoxide alarm on every level someone is sleeping. So if no one is sleeping in the basement, you do not need a carbon monoxide alarm down there. But if you have someone sleeping on the first level and up in the bedroom levels, then you need one for those two levels. Carbon monoxide alarms are now a requirement in the District of Columbia for homes that have gas appliances. You can purchase the ones that plug in, or you can purchase a combination one that has a smoke and a carbon monoxide alarm, or you can just purchase a regular carbon monoxide alarm. But again, they should be installed near sleeping there on levels where there's persons are sleeping. As far as where you replace it, make sure that it's not in an area that's near an open window or door, or a drafty area where it can set off a false reading. There's no need to put one in the garage, because every time you go to start that car, when the carbon monoxide comes out, it's going to be a false reading, as well as too close to a fireplace. Now, as far as when to change the batteries for your carbon monoxide alarm, look at the manufacturer's directions to see if it should be replaced once a year, twice a year, or when the batteries are going low. And know the difference between the alarm signals. Sometimes we get calls, which is fine. If you don't know, please call. But people think it's their carbon monoxide alarm going off, and it's just a low battery alert. So during COVID, some of us may have not gotten all of our appliances checked, but make sure that you go back to having your appliances checked once a year. So your annual furnace check, and if you had other appliances, please schedule to make sure that those are being scheduled, because sometimes carbon monoxide is leaking in your home from a gas appliance and you're not even aware of it. When you have those annual inspections, they're able to check and do a reading to make sure that no carbon monoxide is leaking. Now, if you have a gas oven, make sure that you are not boiling water on top of the stove, as well as turning that oven on and opening that oven door to heat your home. And when it comes to using charcoal grills, you are never to use them inside, and that includes the garage. Make sure that you are pulling it away from the garage as well as the deck. If there's a fire on your deck, what's going to be next? It's your home. To make sure it's in a grass area and it's a couple of feet from your home. When it comes to using gasoline powered engines, such as generators, chainsaws, blowers, weed trimmers, mowers, or snow plot blowers, make sure that you are not keeping those on close to the inside of the home, because that's bringing carbon monoxide poisoning into the home. So when escaping from a fire, now we will get into discussing fire survival skills for how to escape from a fire. So make sure that you have a fire escape plan. What should be included in your plan? All obstacles inside and outside of the home, such as a locked door that has a deadbolt lock on it and it requires a key. That's considered an obstacle. If you have any broken windows and doors, that should be included as an obstacle. Also include not just one way out of the home, but 2 ways out of each room. So that will be a window and a door. Then if you are above the first level, of course, you would not use that window to escape, but that's a second option for the firefighters when they get there, if they need to get you out of the home. Smoke rises, and in a fire, it can be really scary coming into contact with smoke. So if you do not feel comfortable escaping by going down low, go into a room that has a window and a door and close that door. That door will protect you from the smoke as well as the fire until the firefighters get there. If you live in Washington, D.C., you are within 2 minutes from a firehouse. If you live in the DMV, which is 30 minutes from Washington, D.C., the surrounding areas, 30 minutes from D.C., then you are within 5 minutes from a firehouse. So I know it feels like forever when you're in that room waiting and you feel like you should maybe take a chance. But when you're running into contact with smoke, you're running the risk of getting smoke inhalation. And when smoke gets into your lungs, what happens? You collapse. So stay as low as possible. And get to that room that has a window and a door and close it and wait for the firefighters. By your bedside, you should have 3 essential items. If you're using eyeglasses to read or for distance, make sure that you keep them close, because when you're escaping, let's say you're not able to go back in. If you need to sign some documents, or you need to if you're not able to go back in the home, you want to be able to read whatever someone may want you to sign. A whistle. If you are not able to escape, you're able to whistle, and that will alert family members or the firefighters where you're located at in the home. And your cell phone, you want to keep that close because if whether you're able to escape or not, it'll be right there for you to call 911. If you are able to escape, get out first and then call 911 once you have safely escaped. So we have some questions on the back end to discuss, to review today's lesson. So the first question is, what is the leading cause of fire deaths for older adults? Does anyone remember?
Smoking.
Smoking is the leading cause of death. Number two, if you are on oxygen, is it okay for you to smoke?
Not at the same time.
It is not okay for you to smoke, and we advise that you talk to your doctor about getting some assistance on how to stop smoking. Some type of method such as trying out maybe the gum, the patch, or something like that. And in the meantime, when you smoke, do not take your oxygen outside with you. What should you replace extension cords with?
A power surge protector.
Surge protectors, yes. Replace your extension cords with surge protectors and only use extension cords when it's for a temporary use, such as the holidays when you're plugging in the decorative lights, or let's say it's on a hot day and you have company and it's hot in that room. After your company leaves, you do what? Unplug the extension cord. If you use a space heater, what is the clearance from anything that will burn? Does anyone remember how many feet? So it's 3 feet. Make sure that you have 3 feet clearance from anything that will burn. That includes furniture, that includes bedding, and that includes yourself. When you're dealing with candles, the same thing. Keep 3 feet of clearance. What type of sleeves should you wear when you cook?
Short sleeves or tight sleeves?
Short sleeves or tight fitting sleeves? Should you use water to put out a grease fire?
Only if you want to make the mess bigger.
Absolutely. So an example of that is, let's say that you are going to cook some French fries and they were in the freezer. So you know they have the ice chips on them. When you dump it into that pan, those little pops of grease come back onto you. As much water as you put into the pan, as much grease is going to come back on towards you. So never try to pour water into a grease fire. Always use a lid, slide that lid over and turn the heating source off.
Simone, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I have always heard to use either baking soda or salt in the kitchen because those things are already there and usually very easy to grab if you have some kind of a fire in the stove or on top of the stove.
So baking soda is the main agent in fire extinguishers, so we know it works. And I've heard other people say salt or flour. But two things with that. What if we are out of that ingredient that day? And what if something in that pan could have been saved? There may be one area of the pan that catches fire and the other part is fine. So that's why we always say just cook with a lid. And it does not have to be a lid to the pan that you're using, but one that's the same size or bigger. But those two things absolutely work as well. How many ways out should you include in your escape plan?
2.
At least 2. Have at least 2 ways out of each room. And again, if you are above the first level, that does not mean using your window to get out of, but it gives the firefighters a second option of how they can get to you if they're not able to come through the front door. Last question, where should smoke alarms be placed in your home? And when should they be replaced? So smoke alarms should be placed on every level of the home, starting with in the hallway. And then the sleeping areas, outside of the sleeping areas, in your bedrooms, inside of your bedroom. So you are to replace the batteries twice a year. You are to check your smoke alarm once a month to make sure the battery's working. And you are to replace the smoke alarm every 10 years. The great thing about that is after 10 years, you can replace that smoke alarm where you were replacing the battery twice a year with the 10-year lithium ion smoke alarm. And that smoke alarm you only need to replace the whole unit every 10 years. So for more information on senior fire safety, or if you have a question that you would like to ask regarding a fire hazard in a business or your living space, you can contact our office, the Fire Prevention Division. We're located at 1100 4th Street Southwest. But if you're coming down to visit, you have to make an appointment. Our office hours are Monday through Friday between the hours of 8:15 to 4:45 p.m. But if you feel like there is something that needs to be addressed during the weekend, you can call the 311 line and report whatever your findings are. And they'll probably send the fire investigators out. They're a part of our division as well, and they're on the job 24 hours a day. Lastly, visit our website, fems.dc.gov. You can request for us to do a fire safety presentation at your children or grandchildren's school. We also go out to colleges, your workplace. As long as it's in Washington, D.C., we can provide a fire safety presentation for your workplace, as well as if you'd like us to provide a presentation for your ANC group or your home association. There's also some more fire safety videos like the one that you saw of my coworker, how to escape, how to create an escape plan, just a variety of fire safety subjects. And then we have fire safety literature on there for adults, as well as coloring sheets for children. And then we have virtual firehouse tours. During COVID, people were not able to visit the firehouse. So we created videos for an engine company, for the rescue squad, for the fire boat, and even for the ambulance. So this concludes my presentation.
Well, thank you so much, Simone. We really appreciate it. Thanks for your time and the information, and we'll look forward to getting some of the books that we can distribute to members.
Yes.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.